Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. The crypto market is crashing in free fall right now, and we're almost at those bear market lows. So really interesting times in the crypto market. I'm going to give you my views, my opinions on where I think we're heading next. And we're going to have a look at some of the biggest, I guess, pieces of news surrounding Cardano ADA, look at price predictions and forecasts and all that wonderful stuff. This is certainly not a video you want to miss because there's some myth busting I'm going to do, and I'm going to let you know a lot about what I think we should be, I guess, aware of when it comes to following well-known, I want to say influencers. Even if they're like from an institutional background. I'm not talking about like just general YouTubers, right? But we could talk about those as well, I guess. So let's dig into it. Let's go. Let's get into it. Let's go today. The market doesn't deserve it. We're down at $3.52 trillion, if I can get my words out. The market cap of crypto globally is down 7.16% at the time of recording, with Bitcoin at 104,640.69, down 6.21% at the time of recording. We're here to talk about Cardano ADA. It's at 60 cent 27, down 11.38%. Now, I have mentioned a few times, I've been talking with a lot of big players. I've been talking with a lot of Bitcoin Maxis, and look, I keep highlighting this stuff, and I'm going to continue to do so, right? Bitcoin, let's get it up on the screen here, for the whole year is up 56.33% at the time of recording. Like, everybody that is in Bitcoin, whether you're Michael Saylor, whether you're just a crypto influencer, whether you're somebody that was just an early adopter of Bitcoin, got in super early and made a ton of money, I want to explain what Bitcoin really is and what its purpose is in this world, right? There's some really good influencers out there that say this stuff, but I think do it in the wrong way. They put it across in the wrong way. So I want to be quite clear about this stuff. And there is, I guess, a big reason, right? I talk about this a lot. If we take Cardano, over the last year, it has outperformed Bitcoin, right? And that isn't something that you will hear these Maxis when it comes to Bitcoin talking about, right? They talk about, it's Bitcoin or nothing. Like, the term that comes to my mind a lot is don't get married to your bags, right? And I think that a lot of people are married to their Bitcoin bag. And I have, some predictions of my own I'll open up before we get into all the headlines and stuff. And I tell you what my thoughts and opinions are on like what happens next. And again, this is my opinion, not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Investing in altcoins, crypto, it's really risky. You do risk losing all of your money. I just want to be quite clear. I don't know your situation, so I can't possibly give you any sort of form of financial advice. I'm not trying to tell you how to make quick money, but I do want to kind of give you my thoughts, my opinions on the concept of, what investing in Bitcoin is compared to what investing in altcoins is, whether that's Cardano or some other asset, right, in the crypto market. So Bitcoin, I've got to agree with some of the influencers, Michael Saylor and these guys. I keep picking on them, but others that talking pro Bitcoin, they call it gold 2.0, right? Gold is at all-time high. People queuing in the streets today as I record this video to get gold at all-time high. What do you think happens next with gold? Like, nobody's got a crystal ball. Nobody really truly knows. But if I was going to forecast it, I'm going to be saying it's going to be volatile to the downside, right? It's a top indicator that the top is in, the peak is here, it's done, right? Whereas Bitcoin, I think there's going to be another rally, right? And I've talked about this. I think blockchain, whether it's Bitcoin, altcoins, there's going to be huge rallies. But there is a comparison that I don't just make, but others make, right? These Maxis, if we use what they say against them, it's gold 2.0, right? And if we consider what gold is, it's a hedge against fiat, right? Like whether that's the pound, the dollar, euro, for example, right? Like many other different currencies that there are there, right? It's really a hedge against those because obviously they're inflationary, right? Like you get more printed, you get money printed, so it becomes less valuable, whereas gold, it's finite in a way, right? Like, don't get me wrong, they're digging up more and they could find a lot more, we don't know, right? So yeah, look, you store your wealth in Bitcoin, you store your wealth in gold, that's the comparison. But many people haven't been early adopters of Bitcoin, right? And ultimately they haven't made their wealth yet. Now, if you want to generate wealth, you're not really, in my humble opinion, unless you're an early investor, adopter, whatever terminology we wish to use, you're not going to build wealth buying Bitcoin. And you can argue this with me as much as you like. Even if you say, well, Bitcoin could go to $1 million. Yeah, well, that's less than a 10x, right? It's not even 10 times your money. So yes, it can, and I probably will. But what do you think happens to the rest of the altcoin market if Bitcoin does that and altcoins are just how they are today, which isn't how it's going to be in the future, right? In my humble opinion. What do you think is going to happen, right? Well, my thoughts, my opinions are that they're going to go up. All boats rise, right? Like maybe not straight away, but that money's coming out of Bitcoin at some point and it's going into altcoins, right? That's what's generally happened with the previous cycles. Now, I think the world's going to be very, very different. And because of that, I think that Bitcoin is going to get flipped by another altcoin at some point, and there's going to be people that are not liking this. There's going to be people out there that are not going to agree, but by market cap, I think an altcoin or a few altcoins will surpass Bitcoin at some point. Not now, not maybe not in the next 5 or 10 years, but I do think it's inevitable. And look, I think Cardano is going to outperform Bitcoin this cycle. I don't really see it doing a huge amount. Let's say it goes to 150%. Like, is that a huge amount for this bull run? I don't know. I don't think so. Whereas Cardano, its previous all-time high was $3. I think it's got a lot more X's and percentages in it to the upside and less to the downside, right? Particularly with the news and stuff that we're going to cover off and the adoption that I believe is coming in, right? So at the moment, cost of living is really high. People haven't really got a lot of money. But liquidity is coming, right? It's going to be coming as the Fed reduce interest rates. They've already done 125 basis points. I think they're going to continue to do more. And as they do, there is a bit of a lag, but liquidity is coming into this market. The cost of living will ease, right, for individuals, right? I do think that we are going to get a massive recession. We're going to get a housing, crisis. We're going to get all of that, a bit like the, recessions we've had with the previous financial crash and stuff like that. I think that's coming. That's my opinion. They're going to kick it down the road. Maybe that happens in 27, 28, 29. Maybe it happens as far away as 2030. I don't know how far they're going to kick it down kick the can down the road. But ultimately, I think that is what's coming. These are just my opinions. It's not financial advice. Do your own research. Never invest more than willing to lose. All that sort of stuff. But we've got potentially a spot ETF coming for Cardano ADA, right? I've said many times, I think this is inevitable. I've been saying this for a long time. Before Bitcoin spot ETF was even approved, I was saying this. And I wasn't just saying it about Cardano. I'm not a maxi for Cardano. I'm not a maxi for anything else that I'm invested in. But I am going to speak my mind and give you my thoughts and opinions, right? And hopefully it's beneficial to people, right? You're going to build generational level wealth in assets that are more volatile than Bitcoin. And altcoins are just that. We're seeing huge amounts, of pullbacks, right? We go to Cardano is down over 30% in the last 1 month. Like Bitcoin isn't. It's down 9.87%. So if you were going to, and I'm just using these as examples, right? Like I'm not a financial advisor, but if you were going to make generational level wealth or build wealth because you haven't got any, right? Which is most retail investors, like you are going to, see bigger swings with Cardano. You're going to see bigger swings with other altcoins. And this is what I'm trying to convey in this video. Maybe I'm doing it really badly. Maybe it's not coming across as I intend. But look, I think if you've got phases to this stuff, right? Like, you might be in your first cycle. I don't know, right? I don't know you, personally and your situations, right? Which is one of the reasons why I can't give you financial advice. Plus, I'm not even a financial advisor, right? So I'm not trying to do that. Educational purposes only and entertainment purposes only, right? It's just a way to get you thinking about markets and stuff like that. So what I'm trying to convey is there's different stages, right? So you come into your first cycle, it's about building wealth. You're going to do that through altcoins. Now, it might be that your altcoin you invest in goes up 100%, hypothetically speaking. Well, why not move 20% of that new wealth into Bitcoin? I think Bitcoin is going to continue to go up. I don't think Bitcoin maxis are wrong. I just think Bitcoin maxis have already made their wealth and they're storing it in Bitcoin. That's kind of what I'm trying to say. So look, there can be people that can argue this with me. It's just my opinion. Don't take it the wrong way. I just want to give people my views, my opinions. And ultimately, the volatility is where you can make the most money. That's my thoughts. And that's how you build wealth to start off with. And you need to store it into, assets that are going to appreciate and are less volatile. So that's my views, that's my opinions. It always has been that way. Maybe not like somebody that's like go pro Bitcoin and that aspect of things. I've not really ever kind of given this stance out publicly, but I think now we've got institutions coming in. It is that gold 2.0 now, whereas before it was all talk and no real substance. So one thing that I do want to talk about on here, I love how they've got all the trainers I've been looking at for ads. The internet. But yeah, look, putting all that stuff to one side, I think Cardano is in a very unique position. I think it's going to do very, very well. We'll look at the articles, we'll dig into everything, we'll leave my bullishness on the crypto market. Obviously take what I say with a pinch of salt. It's just my opinion, not financial advice. Cardano falls below key support. Here's how low ADA could go. So a lot of people will be interested in this sort of stuff. If we scroll down, how low can we go? So, there's talk of 15 cent, like 12 cent. I can't see those numbers coming to fruition. There's 60 cent, 57 cent, realistic, but if we're talking about 12 cent, take what you read and even listening to me, take it with a pinch of salt, do your research, because who knows what these articles agendas are. But there is some good stuff here. We've got Cardano drops below 61 cent after heavy selling. Again, just talking about the downtrend, all that sort of stuff. I want to talk about my thoughts and opinions on price and next catalyst, and why I believe that Cardano could do very well. I'll talk about this article in a minute. Why this altcoin could do very, very well, right? And where we are with the market, I think it's going to be rather interesting. Lots of predictions for October, November, and December. I think we need to just bottom out. I think once we've bottomed out, I honestly thought that we had done the bottoming out already. Nobody's got a crystal ball. It's one of those things. You're highly educated guessing based on market cycles, economics, all that sort of stuff. But nobody's ever going to have 100% accuracy, right? And we've been quite open about that. No past predictions, successful or not, are indicative of what can happen in the future. Nothing's guaranteed. So basically, this article is basically alluding to the fact that we're probably going to see out the rest of this month, with a lot of volatility. Things are going to slightly improve but still be volatile in November, December. Going into the new year, we're going to be seeing some pretty substantial moves to the upside, according to the articles, not me. Again, it's going to be really interesting to see whether that all plays out or not. And then we've got Cardano ADA price prediction 2025. Will a $50 million liquidity boost spark a rally? A lot of people talking about the liquidity, and this could be started by the the Cardano Foundation. It could be started by a spot ETF. And look, I think the real play right now, like talking about altcoins and investing in altcoins, I'll talk about my strategy. My strategy is to basically only invest in altcoins that have a high to medium chance of getting a spot ETF. I think that's the play right now, so that's the strategy I've got. Obviously you do you, I'm going to do me, but ultimately I think that is a pretty sound strategy, hence I'm taking it. And liquidity is going to come from those spot ETFs. I think that's going to be the catalyst. I think personally, I think things will play out in a very similar way to how they've played out before. We've had these cascading liquidations, pretty much right at the start of altcoin seasons, the last 2 cycles, maybe more. So this isn't something that should be unexpected. At least it isn't unexpected to me. I've been forecasting it for some time. But I think there's huge growth when it comes to the altcoins. Lots of volatility, don't get me wrong, both to the upside and to the downside. And that is one of the beautiful things about investing, because you can make money on that volatility. Charles Hoskinson hints at Cardano, ADA's spearheading crazy altcoin bull run. And again, this is all to do with the Hydra, 1000 TPS in test phase, outperforms Visa, MasterCard and PayPal. Again, this sort of talk is what really does excite investors. We are seeing a lot of outflows, but at the same time, there's a lot to be really excited for when it comes to Cardano, ADA. And then we've got Cardano inflows jump to 3-month high, but our big holders blocking a rebound. And this is what I'm sort of alluding to a little bit here. There's a lot of profit taking. There's a lot of people, including myself, that got in at like 5 cents and lower. So, sitting where we are today, it looks really, really good, right? So look, I think I've given a whole load of alpha. You might have been in the market for a long time. You might think I talk absolute nonsense. That's completely fine. That's what makes the world a beautiful place. We don't all have to agree. I mean, how boring would it be if we all agreed on absolutely everything, right? If we all agreed on everything and all had the same thoughts and opinions, we'd all be in the same industry, right? And we'd all be, I guess, unsuccessful together, right? Because nobody would ever be able to make any money because you'd have the same products, you'd have the same everything if everybody had the same views and opinions. And I think that's one of the things that makes this industry really exciting. I don't like the tribalism. I don't like the negativity surrounding the space. I mean, you can correctly and accurately predict 40 moves, but that one that you didn't will be the one that everyone will talk about for the rest of their lives and the rest of your lives, or your life, I should say. So it would be better if people were more kind to one another and educating others, right? And talking about money with people, not in a boasting way like I made this. Talking about money is healthy, and actually you can level up the people around you, and that is something that I think is very meaningful. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one.